All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your good old boy JR coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. As always, it is a pleasure to talk to you guys on this 11th episode of the Silver and Bro Show. As always, every Tuesday we recap the Raiders matchup from the previous week, and then we look ahead on the next matchup. So let's just get right into it. A little bit of news before we do move forward. Uh, Former Patriots cornerback out of waiver wire after he was being released yesterday. And to make it in the corresponding Isaac Rochelle's time, I'm not saying that's come to an end on the Raiders, but he is no longer part of the active roster, and Jack Jones is part of it now. So that's the bit of news we got right now. So let's just dive right into it and recap the Sunday Night Football matchup that was between the New York Jets and the Las Vegas Raiders. There's nothing really eye popping. There's really nothing more to say than that was the longest game I think anybody's ever been a part of, because not because it was high flying scoring or nothing like that. It was different than that. It was the defenses just doing their jobs. And really, all it took was one touchdown. Whoever scored that touchdown was probably going to win that game. And the Raiders were fortunate enough to find that touchdown in the fourth quarter on a Michael Mayer fade from Aiden O'Connell. So that was very nice to see. Nothing more impressive other than the Raiders' run defense stopping Brees Hall, which I said they needed to do. On the flip side, however, they did let Dalvin Cook and Zach Wilson rush for a lot of yards. And there was just, yeah, it was a real barn burner, bro. I totally agree. Um, Nothing more impressive than that. I think the reason, and I'm not saying it's the whole reason the Raiders won, it's because the ineptitude and just the bad timing of the Jets, from holding on a touchdown run, Zach Wilson stepping out of bounds prior to getting into the end zone. It was just a lot. There was just a lot. Intercept, turnovers, fourth down stops. It was just a lot that the Jets knew that they had to do. And I believe, the Jets feel like they could have won the game. They probably should have won the game. There was 3 touchdowns that were off the board. But for whatever reason, the Jets just did not have enough to do what they had to do in this, and it was just a good showing for the Raiders. For offensively, nothing to write home about other than Josh Jacobs having a good game. Yes, there was a fumble issue here and there. There's a little bit of fumbling issues, so that happened. But for the majority of the part, it was just a really good defensive matchup that the Raiders just overcame. You know, to be down, it was just one of those games where you won't remember it because of the scoreboard, but you'll remember it because of just the Raiders made one more play than the New York Jets. That's really what it came down to. And even then, you know, Zach Wilson made a heck of a throw at the end of the game, and then Tyler Conklin just unfortunately put his hands up too and interfered with Garrett Wilson to drop the ball in the end zone, and that was kind of the end of the game. I mean, there was really nothing memorable other than the Raiders defense just doing what they did. I think at the beginning of the year, if I would have, if somebody would have told me that the Raiders, defense is going to be, this a reason why they have won some of these games, I probably would have laughed in your face just because of the years of disappointment that the Raiders defense have shown over the years, and they've just shown out to be a really good defensive unit, and I'm very happy about that. They were the third least expensive defense, and they're the 13th best defense overall. So I mean, there was not a lot other than draft capital and some free agency, but there was nothing to write home about, and I'm glad they did what they did. I'm very happy that they're performing at a level that we haven't seen in quite some time. I would say probably since 2016 when they had they gave up a lot of yardage, but turnovers was their main point, and that's what they're doing here. You know, yes, yes, it was pretty cool seeing the original. Yes, yeah, that was the running joke around the whole stadium. My brother put pretty cool seeing the original Heidi before the start of the game say she won't ruin this game. Yes, no, it was very funny. That was the joke of the stadium, and I can tell you this much: there was nothing to brag about. The Jets, their defense is no joke. They did what they came to do, and they showed on national TV why the Jets defense is one of the better defenses in the National Football League. It was just not enough offense that night, and I guess for me, the only positive I can say is that the running game started to get going at the end there. Usually in games like this, the Raiders kind of turn away from the running game. They don't, commit to it, but they just kept committing to it. And Josh Jacobs ran a couple good times to where it just got the Jets defense a little tired. So I was very happy about that. Negative thing I can say was, offensively, it wasn't a good game, but there's really nothing negative I can say. It was exactly the type of game that I thought it was going to be. Whoever scored a touchdown first was probably going to win the game. And, Robert Salea said the first to 20. And I literally said the same thing on last Tuesday where, whoever probably scores a touchdown first probably wins the game. And, me and my brother joked about this. If we can hold the Jets under um, 14 and we can score more than 14, then we have a shot. And behold, we scored 16, they scored 12. And that was enough. That was enough. So kudos to the Jets for an amazing game. They have nothing to be ashamed about. It, I know it's never easy to be that close and the way how they played, but they played a hell of a game, and I wish them the best throughout the rest of the year. So, where does this leave the Raiders right now? Well, um, depending on how you feel from the games that probably won't matter down the year. Are they playing themselves out of a top pick? It really doesn't matter. All I know is that the Raiders are winning, and it's a great feeling knowing that they're winning. And in two games, the Raiders have shown more heart under Antonio Pierce than they have in the year and a half that they did with Coach McDaniels. So it has to feel good knowing that these team is playing for something. They feel like they're playing for something. So, but where do we go from here? And I think that's still too early to tell in regards of do we keep Antonio Pierce? Do we keep Champ Kelly? I will say this, they are doing some moves. I know this much. Obviously, Jalen Smith was inactive this week. They brought in Jack Jones today. So it's not like they've totally given up. They feel like they have a team. They feel like they have a competitive team to do something this year. Otherwise, they probably would have just given up. They probably wouldn't even looked as the way they probably, if the players didn't buy in to what Antonio Pierce and the coaching staff is saying, we would see a different attitude. We would see a different way of how this team plays, how the fans would react, and overall, I just like the way how they are playing. It's not easy, it's not pretty, but they're winning. And with the franchise like this, when you're a franchise that feels like it's snake bitten or nothing ever goes your way or anything like that, it just it just feels good because winning does cure everything. Especially when you can stick it to some of the crew. For example, on Sunday Night Football, I saw I was at the game, so I didn't get to see the pregame activities or the pregame show. But when they were making their picks, 55% in America thought the Jets were going to win. Um, so that's 55% that can just stick it. And there's the fact that Vegas had the Jets favorite to win. And also, when you look at the Carton Show and the WFAN radio booth, you, you know, uh, first the Carton Show where, saying that the defense, you know, do what he did at the end. So there's one. And then the other one was a longtime radio host, Old Man Joe at FAN, saying that, the league wanted the Raiders to win this game. All my life, I've just seen the Raiders get penalized more than anything. So I don't know where this whole the league, the league wanted the Raiders to win was such a I don't know where that came from. I think it was just sour grapes. As you get older, you don't like losing, especially him, who's a retired radio host. I think he always said that, he said some erroneous things where, the league wanted the Raiders to win that game. And it was like the 70s and 80s. And last time I checked, when they won their Super Bowls or whenever they made it to the playoffs and made a deep run, they were always one of the top teams where they led the league in penalties. So I think that was a little far stretch. I think that was a little far stretch as far as, the league wanting the Raiders to win. I kind of chuckled at that because I don't think the league has ever been very, very, very favorable to us. So I don't know what high horse he's on. I don't know what he's probably just a sour fan that his Jets are in the position that they're in, because I'm sure he's getting tired of it, like how me and my brother, who's joining us now on Instagram Live, we're tired of it, of years of just heartbreak. I'm sure he's on the same boat. But to say that the league favored or wanted the Raiders to win that one, I thought that was a little erroneous. I thought that was a little erroneous to say. Brother, what's going on, my man?
How are you? I'm doing well. Happy for another win. Funny how we win and then I come on the show and I'm not nowhere to be found. I know that's what everybody's probably thinking, but
you're busy, man. You're a busy man.
I mean, it feels good to win, and it sucks because, like I was commenting earlier, it's really true, dude. It's against us. It's us and 31 other teams, because we will always be like the redheaded stepchild of the NFL. But that's fine. I think we prefer it that way, to tell you the truth. We're just
well, it's always been that way.
Okay with that?
I mean, it's always been that way. I just found it funny how, I go on my lunch break and then I see him, say that the league wanted the Raiders to win this game. And I'm like, I think if the league had it their way, we would go 0-17 every single freaking year.
I think so. And you know what? Honestly, I think it comes from, right, the league and from, just National Football League, like fans. You know what I mean? Because, if you think about it, dude, there's so much hatred towards the Raiders. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, I get it. It's like we're one of the top teams to be hated on, and that's fine. I mean, it comes with the territory. I mean, the Raiders used to be good and
win. Yeah, they used to be.
They used to be pretty good.
They used to be pretty good.
All the Raider Nation still hangs on to that for dear life, we're not good anymore. I mean, we're trying to pick up the pieces.
It's just funny because these last 2 weeks, what it really has been for me, and, you can look on it I think we all know him, Kukui Raider, whose content is really funny. Like if you go like what's worse than losing to the Raiders is like and he puts like the funny memes and the funny stories and everything. And I can tell you this because I was at the game. I was at the last two home games, both New York teams. I can tell you this much: there's a lot of in 2 weeks, I never realized that even though they were from the same area, they couldn't come from a different cloth. And let me give you an example. When I was at the Giants game, obviously, some Giant fans came over because where I like to watch the game. It's a popular area. I mean, you've been to the stadium. You know where I watch the game. It's a popular area. Why wouldn't it be? Halftime stage shows right there. The bar's right behind you. There's beer on the side. I mean, who wouldn't want to be there?
You mean the spot that I discovered?
Exactly. Yeah. The spot you showed us is like, dope. Let's sing here. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that spot.
Yeah, that spot. I mean, it was totally by accident, but it worked.
Yeah, you know me. I never sit in my seat, no matter what stadium I'm in. I don't. I've sat in my seat one game, and that was the farewell last Monday night game in Oakland with you. I said, okay, if I'm ever gonna sit in my seat, it's gonna be with my brother, and it's the last year that they're in Oakland.
That was it. And, talking to New York Giant fans, and they made sense on what the situation was. The situation, and they knew what was up. They pretty much knew, like, look, man, we stink. There's no other way around it. They sounded like, okay, they know what the problem is. They know it. And they were on the same boat as we were. It's like, look, man, our head coaching sucks. We have to make the right decisions. We did our decisions, and they were on the same boat too. Now, I don't think they're on the boat of firing Dayball. I don't think that's the issue, but they know that the guy slinging the rock is not worth 40 million freaking dollars a year. Like, so that's so they made sense on what they were trying to say. Fast forward 1 week. I have never seen so many crybabies in my freaking life. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys are New Yorkers. You're telling me that these guys are supposed to be the toughest of the tough in America. These guys are I never thought I would ever say this in my life because I respect every fan base, but there were some fans for that wear the green. I'm like, you guys have to be the biggest babies I've ever met in my freaking life. I had one fan come up to me, literally out of nowhere, just minding my business, watching the pregame, come up to me drunk. You should be ashamed of yourself for wearing those stupid Raider colors. And I'm like, okay, well, come back to me when the game's over when we kick your ass. Never came back. Never came back. And I'm like, I should be ashamed. I'm not the one that's trying to hype up Zach Wilson being the next freaking Brett Favre. He wishes he can hold Brett Favre's freaking jockstrap. You kidding me? You wish, buddy. You wish. That's like me praising Aiden O'Connell to be the next Tom Brady. Yeah, you freaking wish, pal. And that's the thing. And the two difference I see is New York Giant fans and Aaron Rodgers went on his show today saying that the Giants suck as worse, but there's bias. Yeah, you want to know what the difference is? The Giant fans are truthful to their team. They're truthful. When they suck, and they'll let them know. You Jet fans believe that Zach Wilson is the next best thing, and this defense is like the Baltimore Ravens. Nah, not even close, man. Not even close. Not even close. So we could stop the bullshit right there, buddy.
All right, let me ask you, not to go off subject, or was there an Adam Sandler sighting? Because when Jets used to go to
He was there. He was there.
Yeah, I thought
there was a lot of people there actually. So I think Adam was there, or Adam was there, because I think there was like a post about it or something. So he was there. Jim Otto was there, which was very cool to see. Fred Biletnikoff was there. And then obviously my dude, Namdi Asamoah, he was at the game. So that was pretty dope. Yeah. Yeah, Namdi was at the game. So I thought it was pretty dope. He was chilling in the suite, just straight chilling with his son and stuff. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope.
That's awesome. And they won, dude.
Yeah, no, they won.
Awesome. I sent you a slide. There was about 10 slides on Namdi Asamoah when his tenure with the Raiders. And I think if I could go back to any time, well, Like if you were a fan and you could go back to any time when the Raiders were playing, obviously anybody would probably go back to that '99 season when they beat the Titans to go, or Jets or Titans. I think it was the Jets to go to the AFC Championship or to go to the Super Bowl.
It was the Titans. They beat the Titans.
Right. They did beat the Titans, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You'd probably go back to that, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. Those times that would knock me off on those teams, I mean, they weren't any good, but those were just best times ever.
Well, they had heart. I'll tell you what. That defense had heart. I'll tell you what. They weren't the best of the players, but man, they tried. God bless them. They tried. But
yeah. So I could give you the insight. So Heidi, since you weren't watching the game right before the game started, the original Heidi from the Heidi.
Yeah, the Heidi Bowl. Yeah, the Heidi game. Yeah.
Yeah, she came out and she was sitting on a chair watching the old school game. And she's like, "Okay, guys, get ready. It's Sunday night, and I promise I won't ruin it this time," which I thought was pretty cool.
That's pretty dope. Yeah, I didn't get to see that. That's pretty dope. Like I said, I was at the game, so
yeah, you missed that.
All the pregame activities I did not see on TV because obviously they don't show them during the game. The only thing they showed was the Carrie Underwood singing the Sunday night theme, and that was about it.
Long Legs McGee.
That's it. Long Legs McGee. That was it. But no, to go back to it, I mean, like I said, I don't think there's really. This is one of those games where literally what it came down to was whoever scored a touchdown first was probably going to win the game, and it just happened to be the Raiders. And we talked about it last Tuesday, where we even joked about it. If you hold the Jets to under 14 and you score more than 14, you probably win this game. And that's exactly what happened. They scored 16. I don't know how. I mean, and I was at the game, so I don't know how they did it, but they did it. They did it. It was a long, excruciating 16 points. I have never seen somebody wait so long to get 16 points in one game like that.
I agree. And it was hard, man. It was really tough because like we were talking about before, that Jets defense flies around, man. They're real solid.
Yeah, they're no joke.
And they made it extremely difficult. If you think about it, if you go back to the game when Aiden O'Connell threw that pick, I think everybody in Raider Nation was just kind of looking at it like, oh man, that's gonna shake them up.
Oh, dude, that got us like, oh no, that's not good.
Yeah, because we all thought from there on out he's just gonna throw another one and just keep messing up. I'll be honest with you, if the Jets offense would have been a little bit better on it, well, it just depends. But our defense did their job. But I think if their offense would have gotten a little bit better, they probably.
Well, I mean, remember the thing that nobody wants to talk about. That nobody has talked about. The Raiders, or I'm sorry, not the Raiders. The Jets. They did miss on 3 opportunities for 3 touchdowns. There was the one where it was inside the 5 or the 3 or something like that, and Breece Hall ran it in, but they got called back for a holding call, and they never recovered from that, and they kicked the field goal. And then there was the one where Zach Wilson scrambled, and he dove for the end zone, and he got in, but he stepped out of bounds. And then there was another one where it got called back for pass interference or something weird like that. It was something weird, either holding or illegal block or something like that. So there was opportunities where the Jets did, in a sense, they did score almost 3 times. The problem was, it's just those penalties. Those penalties killed them. That's all it was. And I don't think it's anything bad. It was just one of those situations where the Jets just could never recover after those penalties. And there's nothing wrong about it. It's just what it is. But no, I mean, for me personally, I think what I did like, and something that we haven't seen in years, because the running game was not going anywhere that first half. That running game was like non-existent. So we had to depend on the arm of Aiden O'Connell. And he made some throws where I thought were a little risque, if I could say that. They were a little risky, but I think towards the end of the game, I think you saw that the running game just started to get going. And I think that was the difference for us to win that game. It's just our running game was just better than theirs that day.
I agree with that, but at the same time, kind of like you said, those risky throws or whatever. As a young quarterback, man, I mean, you can't be always just so conservative. You know what I mean? Because that's you gotta as an NFL quarterback, you gotta slide it into those small
tight window. And there were some tight throws that he did, and I'm just like, I don't know how he got it through.
Don't ever do that again.
Like, I don't know how. There was one where I think it was Devontae or Jacoby Myers where it was the corner was on him and the linebacker was not that far, and all the linebacker had to do was like put his hand up or something, and probably could have been picked. And he just threaded right through that needle. Another, that touchdown pass to Michael Mayer. Now, granted, the corner's only 5'11" compared to the tight end who's like 6'5". All right, so obviously he's supposed to win those matchups, but even then, that was still a high risk type of throw. I don't even know how he got it in there with the pressure in his face. I do not know.
He threw it right over, floated it right over the corner. I mean, honestly, man, this kid is
Well, he's got no fear of throwing the football. I know that now. Like, he's got no fear.
Yeah, I mean, from what you hear from the team, obviously there's a lot of chatter going around that he's kind of like a leader, dude. Like, I mean, obviously you have to be at a quarterback position, but he's like one of those guys that doesn't get shaped really easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've noticed too that nobody has to tell me, when he makes a mistake, dude, he doesn't go and hang his head and just start crying about it and just let him affect him the rest of the game. If you notice, he makes mistakes. I mean, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. But he's on to the next play, dude, and he just tries to make up for it. That's at least what I see.
Yeah, there's not a moment where I've seen him, like, get upset. There's not a moment where he gets sacked and he looks on his offensive line like, guys, really?
Well, yeah.
Like, really? Because, there's times where quarterbacks look at their offensive line and go, all right, once, fine. 2, come on. 3, 4. And the Jets' defensive line, I mean, you saw it on TV and I saw it live. That Jets' defensive line just kept attacking them. They kept attacking them.
That Quentin Williams, man. I mean, I remember when he was coming out on the draft, I was like, wow. I mean, like he really shook it up, dude. He's doing this thing over there in NY. I'll tell you what.
Oh no, he's doing his thing. And, the whole Jets defensive line is doing their thing, like everybody.
Is he a free agent next year? I hope he is.
No, unfortunately, he signed a new contract with. He's going to be a Jet for a very, very long time. Yeah, I know. And there was talks about him being on the trade block like a couple of years ago or last year, a couple of years ago. But I guess they came to an understanding, and yeah, he's going to be a Jet for a very, very long time. So.
They don't want Devontae Adams. I'm willing to send him Devontae Adams over there.
Well, apparently the rumor was, not the Jets, but it looks like Carolina was on the call with the Raiders for Devontae Adams, but the Raiders ghosted him, I guess, or something like that. So I don't know. It's one of those things where we'll never know the full story until years down the road, probably. It's one of those situations. But to put it to bed, the Raiders did great. They did what they had to do. These last 2 weeks have shown me what type of team they're trying to become, because I'm not saying that they are this team. What they're trying to become is, hey, the games that we're supposed to win, we're going to win them. We're going to win them. And the games that feel like, we have no chance in hell and we probably have to grind out every point we can get, we're going to grind it out. And we're going to let our talent speak for ourselves. So good for them for getting this win. This week, however, me and you have talked about it off camera. The Miami Dolphins, we have to go to Miami this Sunday. And we know that's not going to be an easy task, considering the fact that Miami's coming off a bye week. They're pissed because of how the game ended in Germany against the Patriots. So I know they're pissed. And not for nothing. I know a lot of people want to put it out there that, the Miami Dolphins are really not that good, that they only beat the crappy teams. And when they play teams that are like over 500, they lose. It's like, that's sort of what they are. That's sort of what, they're supposed to do. You're supposed, like I said, you're supposed to win the games you're supposed to win, right? At least that's from what I know. So, I mean, if that's a terrible team, then sign me up. I'll be 6-3. I wish I was 6-3, 7-2, and be like, yeah, you guys are frauds. Cool. I'll take the 7-2 and be called a fraud than being 5-5 and saying that we have potential. But that's just me.
Well, we talked about it before, and I think everybody that's a Raider fan, anybody that's watching or listening, would agree that the Bears game should have been a win, and it was a toss-up against the Chargers in LA, and then the Pittsburgh game also.
Yeah.
So any one of those games could have been wins. I think the one that for sure we should have came up with the win was the Bears one.
Yeah.
So
Look, I'm okay.
6-4, right?
Listen, the Buffalo game, week 2, hey, that's fine.
We knew that, yeah.
The Detroit one, I love the effort, but I already knew we just weren't going to compete that day. We just weren't.
Especially in Detroit. Yeah.
In Detroit, Monday night, it was not going to happen. It was just way too much out of our element at that point. So I'm okay with those losses. The loss, obviously, that one stunk because it's probably something we should have won, but too much ego and pride got in the way from a certain person, so that's done. The Steeler one, I'll go back and say it again. If you gave each of them a 36 pack and 30 minutes of rest and restarted the game, I know we can take them. I know we can. The Charger one was kind of a toss up because we were coming back, but I believe at that point it felt like it was too little, too late. At that point, it felt like that, didn't it? That it was just too little, too late. Now, granted, Aiden O'Connell did his thing in the second half, but I just think it wasn't going to be enough. It could be a coin flip. Who knows? Maybe we try it again, and maybe the same results happen, or maybe we pull it out. I don't know. But the two losses I'm okay with is Detroit and Buffalo. I'm okay with those, even as bad as Buffalo looked last night. Buffalo they're just a better, talented, more depth team than the Raiders at that point were.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, anybody that's listening or anybody that's a true Raider fan and that's been watching the games can agree that I think you could have added one or two more wins to the record very easily, but just kind of is what it is, just take these on the chin and keep moving forward. And, talking about Miami now, when we talked about it earlier, honestly, and the more I think about it, I kind of look at it like I think Raiders are going to put maybe 21 points, 24 points, and if they really, really go off, which I don't see that happening, I think it's going to be it could, but maybe 30 points. I doubt that.
I think this is the game, and I think you've mentioned this. I think you mentioned this the last couple of weeks because obviously, when you hear Raider Nation Network or Raider Nation Radio, it's always going to be the positives. What are the positives? What are the positives in this, right? Me and you, we look at it from a different angle, and it's not that we want to look at it a negative way or we're trying to look at it a bad way. I think this is the type of game this week. It's okay. As hard as you guys are going to practice and as hard as I know they're going to practice, they're going to get punched in the mouth in one way or the other. And I think it's something that you've mentioned before. How do they respond? That's what you're waiting for. That's what you're banking on is you get punched in the mouth. Not saying that they win or lose, but let's just say third drive, fourth drive, let's say Tyreek Hill takes it for a bomb. All right, how do you respond after that? Do you play conservative? Do you keep attacking? Do you just brush it off? And I think that's what you're waiting for. You're just waiting to see what happens when they really get punched in the mouth like that. And which is fine, which is true because I do want to see what happens. Hey, what happens when you get punched in the mouth? Because it's a boxing fight all the time. You get punched in the face. What do? Do you go straight defense or do you just stick with the game plan at that point? And I think that's something that me and you have agreed upon. We want to see what type of team they are when things, not to say that they won't go their way, but when it's not going in place, basically.
Exactly, and that's bound to happen. Every team has to go through that. Every team has to face adversity. And I want to see what a head coach that has no professional,
none,
right? He has no professional experience. How does he deal with that? How does he deal with the men that are no longer going to respond to his raw, hey, straight out of Compton, all
right.
that we're done with. Now it's like, hey, coach, we're on a 3-game losing streak. What do we do now?
And that's where it's your time to shine, basically.
Exactly. I mean, you know what? I think we talked about it before, bro. And you said it the best, too. It's kind of like you need a leader of men, a real leader of men. And I think Antonio Pierce, since he has actually played and put the pads on, he knows what it takes to win. But the only thing that kind of gets me is he has no professional experience.
Right.
So, anyways, at the end of the day, it just is what it is. he's got them winning right now. And what I want to see is when it doesn't go their way, which I think this Sunday is going to be the day. How do they respond? Can they make the adjustments when it's needed?
Right. And we do have a comment here from official Angelo CX. I think it's time to invest in a solid quarterback this upcoming offseason. See what quarterbacks are available. If not, look in the draft and maybe try to move up to get a QB1. Okay. So
I don't agree with that right now. I don't agree with that.
no, and that's what I was going to ask you. How do you feel about that? Do you think this is something that is there more problems to it than just the quarterback situation, or is it a top to bottom makeover?
Well, it's tough because they're playing pretty good now, and if you look at it 3 weeks ago, they were playing pretty
Poorly.
crappy.
Poorly.
And that came a lot from the mentality that the head coach has. So I don't know. I'd be honest with you. If I was running the team, if I was the GM right now, I'd give one more year to the kid. Especially the more games that we win, the more that gets you out of those top spots.
And that's what I was bringing up earlier. It's because depending on what side of the spectrum fans are, there's some fans out there. It's like, what does it matter? If we finish 8-9 or 9-8, that's gonna move us out of the spot to get a quarterback, right? Or there's gonna be a situation where, like last year, we won some games that for what, and it moved us out from the 2 to the number 7 spot. Right now, I think where we stand, if anybody wants to check, I think we're at the number 14 or 15 slot, and that's a long way from a QB1. And I hate to break it to you, this is not that I'm tampering or anything, not that I'm saying anything, but you're looking at the names that are supposedly supposed to come out this year. There's some pretty nice names. There's some pretty nice names at the quarterback situation, but again, I don't know what to think of quarter. Now, I will say this. I agree in the sense that maybe we should give Aiden a year, a flyer, if you will, because obviously he got put in a situation where it's like, nah, we're just going to start Aiden. And I'm sure he was okay with that, but let's see what happens if we give him a full contact year, just to see what he's got. Now, am I opposed? The only problem with trying to get a quarterback this offseason, obviously the Jimmy G contract. It's not bad. But if we do decide to move on from him, we're looking at not a lot of dead money, but we're looking at a situation where it's like, why did we bring him in anyway? You know what I mean?
Well, you're better off at this point to keep him as a backup.
At this point, you got yourself a nice backup. That's what you got.
Exactly.
You got a nice backup. So now I'm not gonna I will say this: if the right opportunity arose, where let's say a veteran quarterback hit the open market and we have a chance to get him, I don't see why not. I don't see why. I don't see, because I don't see the issue, because here's the situation, and we're looking too forward ahead of this, but this is the situation we're looking at. We're looking at a situation where whoever the new general manager is going to be, whether it's Champ Kelly or somebody else, they're going to have $90 million at their disposal, right? You're looking at a team that's probably going to get a decent draft pick, right? And what do I always say? It's not about where you draft, it's how you draft. And if you hit it, you hit it. And it doesn't matter where you drafted them, you just hit the draft pick. So there's going to be a lot of factors of what the Raiders are going to do this offseason. And yes, Jimmy has proven to be injury prone year after year, and it hurts any team he is on. And that is correct. But in this situation, is he really that bad of a backup? I don't think so. I think that's where he has to realize that it's probably over.
Yeah,
it's probably over. And yeah, the aura's there, like Jimmy G's a winner and this and that. It's over, dude. It's over. You had a good run. If you still want to be in the NFL, backup is probably his way to go. And I'm okay with that. It would be an expensive backup, but we would only have to deal with it for 1 more year. So that's perfectly fine. So I think for me, I agree with you in a sense that depending where we are, I don't think quarterback would be a look if there's a talent third round, maybe. But I think we have so many other issues on this team that I think those have to be a main focus first before we look at the quarterback situation, at least in my opinion.
I would. If anything, take off that Q and put a C in there. We need a cornerback.
Yeah, and that's why, when we did our draft presentation board, I was dead serious because I was like, guys, actually, because their contract is not up. So I would at least like to have another corner with more than 2-3 years in their contract, So, because right now we're only slotted to get one back, and that's Nate Hobbs. And no, I'm sorry, that is now Nate Hobbs and Jacorian Bennett. So now we have two guys.
Right, talking about that. And Angelo, thank you so much for your question, bro. And yeah, well, who knows? I think we kind of put that to rest. I don't know. Again, I wouldn't probably go quarterback. If anything, corner would be my choice. Or
you've been banging on the table for linebacker for years, and I've been banging the table for a run defending the defensive tackle, a good interior defensive tackle for like the longest time too. Because God, I mean, how many years have we gone where we need to get this guy or we need to get linebacker? I think right now for me, if I was a general manager, I think not to say that the quarterback is not one of my worries, but there's many other issues that need pressing needs right now. That's what it is for me.
For sure. So let's get back into Miami, dude. I'm gonna make it short and sweet. Raiders are gonna put up somewhere between 21 to 24 points, and that's on their best day at Miami. I could see them going off and going crazy. Devontae having a day, or Jacobs having a day, and maybe get to 30. I doubt it. I think they would be lucky to get to 21, 24. And I see Miami probably putting up 30 to 34 points, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles don't want to lose in this one by any means. I think the issue with this is the Miami offense is just going to be too much this week because our offense is still learning how to play together. Remember, this is only going to be the fourth game that this offense is going to be together. They're still trying to learn how to really communicate with each other, how to talk to each other, how to play with each other, basically. The Miami offense has been on fire all year. So it's not like, they're just going to, I mean, for God's sakes, this is a team that put up 70 points at one point of the season. So this is a team that knows each other very, very well now. It would be nice if they can, it would be nice if they walk into Miami and take one in Miami. It would be nice because then it would feel like, okay, they have something to play for now. Because like I said last week, it felt good watching Monday Night Football and we see our picture, our team logo in the hunt. It feels nice. It feels great. But in order to stay there, you have to keep winning. And it would be nice to walk into Miami. I would love that. But reality is it's not going to be easy. So they would have to literally put their best performance of the year against this team.
It's going to take everybody, the staff, a kitchen sink, a shotgun.
Somebody's going to have to throw the bench at Tua. Like, somebody's going to get a Gatorade cooler and throw it at Tua on the sideline or something, That's what it is. That's truly what it is. So.
Dynamic offense, and they're just,
And I know people are going to say, well, their defense isn't really great. It's like, no, but they have some nice players. Christian Wilkins, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland. So it's not like, huh?
I'll tell you this much. They're playing like we want the Raiders to play, pretty much, right? That's the type of team that we want. They have aspirations to go deep, deep into the playoffs, and we're happy that the Raiders are in the hunt. So it's just two totally different mindsets.
It is, and that's what it really is. Miami, Miami has made moves to where they feel like they can compete in a deep playoff run, like you said. The Raiders are trying to become a team that feels like they can make some noise. And that's two totally different mindsets, like you said. So that I do agree with.
Yeah, so I'll tell you this much: it's like if you look at it, we would love for the Raiders to have that type of a team, that mindset, everything, but it's just not. That's not the reality. The reality is that the Raiders, are just trying to put the pieces back together to the puzzle to try to be able to put the train back on the tracks.
They're trying to get over the hump of what the wrongdoing of this previous staff did, is what they're doing.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, man, I know you don't give your prediction until tomorrow, but I'll leave it at that, short and sweet. I just don't see it. I would love for the Raiders, and don't get me wrong, for anybody listening out there, well, they got a chance. It's any given Sunday. They can win. All right, cool. If I gave you $1,000 and you had to put it on, would you put it on the Raiders? No. You put it on Miami, because you're gonna, Miami right now is a 12-point favorite.
That's almost 2 touchdowns. That is literally 2 touchdowns right there.
Okay, so I'm telling you right now, it's not that I'm not going for the Raiders. I'm just being realistic. Raiders are going to put somewhere. Remember this, okay? I'm going to call it right now. The Raiders are going to score somewhere between 21 and 24 points. Now, can they hold?
That's a different story.
The Miami Dolphins under that? I don't think so. I mean, they could. The defense, they've been playing lights out. They could, but.
And put it like this. And one last thing, we got to give credit where credit is due, and that's for Patrick Graham. Look, this offseason, they did nothing as far as free agency to bring in. And they are, I think if I read correctly, they were the 3rd least expensive offense or defense. And they are the 13th best defense overall. So that is pretty much saying we did nothing other than draft capital and bring in a bunch of not has-beens, but second hand-me-downs. And you're doing a great job with that.
And you lost your starting defensive end before the start of the season, too.
God knows what.
Yeah.
To God, I don't know what. I just hope he's okay.
If you're going to give that much credit to what's his name?
Patrick Graham. Yeah.
Patrick Graham, if you're going to give him that much credit, I want equal as much credit to Max Crosby, because he's the gasoline to that whole engine, dude.
No, there's no question about it. If he's not on the field, we're doomed. We're doomed. That's it. Over, my man.
Pack it up, boys. Go home.
Like, listen, come on, guys. We can do this. No, we can't. Go home.
It is over. Pack it up. Call mom and say you're going home.
Mama, I'm coming home. Like, Mama, I'm coming home.
I'm calling it a night. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything. But like I said, man, I'll leave it at this again. I hope the Raiders can pull it off. I don't see it. I am a betting man, and I mean, I want the Raiders to pull it off, but I just don't see it. What about you, bro?
It would be a nice, good feel story, right? I mean, it would be like, oh man, maybe this team does have something that we don't see because we're not in the room and we're not behind the scenes. We're not in the locker room. We're not at practice. We don't see that. But I can only base it off of what I see on the field. And what I see on the field is one team looks like they want to do the wrongdoings of the previous regime and they're playing their hearts out. Well, one team made moves these last 2-3 off seasons to put themselves in a situation where they feel like they can make a deep playoff run. And that's 2 totally different mindsets right now. And I'll let you be the judge on which team you think which team is which. But like I said, I think, and I've said it before, even after the McDaniels firing, it's not so much me about the wins and losses. The wins are great, but for me, it's player evaluation time. Because, when you fire a head coach halfway through the season or prior to the halfway through, or it was halfway, whatever, it really what it comes down to is let's see what players are all in and what players are not. And so that's really for me what it is. So we'll see. Like I said, you're right. Any given Sunday and everything, but I like that what you said. If you gave me $1,000, what would I do? probably not what everybody wants to hear.
Exactly, and it is what it is. And really quick before I go, I'll give you the antidote that I would use if I was the head coach to be able to beat these guys on offense. On defense, I just continue to let them do what they're doing. I think that they kind of got a pretty good grip on what they're doing. On offense, I would get Mayer involved. I would get Renfro involved. I'd spread the ball around. I'd run it down their throat with Jacobs and hope for the best, man. And then
well, I did want to tell you something. I did want to tell you something. I know it's been a long time coming, but bro, I finally got you a linebacker, and his name is Robert Spillane.
I don't want hand-me-downs.
Hey, but is he not playing his ass off for you?
He's been playing okay. I'll give him that. But I don't want a hand-me-down. I want somebody.
You want true drafted linebackers. That's what you're looking for.
Yep.
All right. I just thought I can try to cheer you up.
I don't want to take nothing away from Spillane, though. He's been playing his ass off, dude. And that's awesome. He's been playing really, really well. So
I know. You just want your own. You just want your own drafted linebackers. And hey, I get it. I understand completely.
What happened to the rookie? Did he get hurt? The rookie out of South Carolina? What was his name?
South Carolina. You mean Florida? No, he played. He was there. He played.
That kid needs. We got another.
That kid needs to take charge and, like you said, take it to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. I wish, Bill. But if you had $1,000, who would you put it on? The Raiders or Miami? Of course, everybody's gonna pick Miami.
Yeah, of course. I don't.
Not any given Sunday. We'll see.
I mean, it's a nice thought in theory. I will say that.
Just go over there and punch them in the mouth, dude. Let's see how they respond. I don't know. We'll see. They're coming off a bye week too, dude. Maybe they're still sleeping. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, can you be jet lagged for 2 weeks? I don't think so.
Starts at 10 a.m., huh?
Yeah, I mean, can you be jet lagged for 2 weeks? I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. But other than that, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I don't think that's how jet lag works. But all right, brother. Well, that's the end of our show. Thank you for coming in as always. I will see you guys next Tuesday, where we will recap the Miami game, and then we get ready for Thanksgiving weekend, where we have to take on our favorite rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs, on that Thanksgiving weekend at Allegiant. So it'll be fun and interesting to see how that goes. But other than that, everybody have a wonderful night, and then I will be back tomorrow with Brandon to do our prediction show. Until then, everybody have a good one. Peace.